accurate, but it's not Eric Martins. You are watching the Fantasy Golf Pod, another edition of the interview series today. I've got a big player in the DFS industry, a fresh face right out of college, but he's a co-founder and a CEO of dailyfantasyinsider.com, Justin Macmahan at Justin Macmahan on Twitter. He's with us today. Justin, welcome. Cheers.
Oh, you didn't tell me. I could have cracked a Coors Light as well.
Shoot. Well, this is my excuse. So, I go out into the garage and I get to have a beer in the middle of the day talking to people. Fair enough.
Yeah. Tasha's in the other room working out and I said I had work to do. So I could have been in here drinking with you. Oh, well.
That's an excuse without you. Appreciate you, though, taking the time. You're a busy guy. Okay. I understand. So we'll just go through this, but I got a lot to talk to you about. I wanted to ask you about a lot of your background, a lot of your stuff, your website and all that stuff. But first and foremost, before we get to the juicy stuff, I'm a beer guy. Like I said, cracking beers, clicking names. That's what we do. And I've started to notice now, and you can tell me you're kind of a younger guy. You're hip now with it. Wow. Hard Seltzer. Am I going to be starting to crack Hard Seltzer and click names? Like
you might be. There's some in my fridge. There's some IPAs, there's some Coors, and there are some White Claws. And honestly, I have to say the new variety pack of White Claws is even better than the original.
So this is for real, because I'm just kidding.
For real, It's the thing is, Chad, you will not get drunk. Like I have had like 12 of these in 4 hours and was not drunk. I don't think it hits you the same way. Because if I have like 8 IPAs, I'd be drunk. But not somehow these seltzers. I mean, you could just.
But aren't they 5% alcohol by volume? I thought they were.
So they say, yeah. I mean, they are, but I don't know. Somehow it just doesn't quite hit the same. Hard to explain, but. The trick is that you take like 2 sips and you pour a little vodka in and then swish it around.
Yeah, well, yeah, obviously. Okay. So this is a real thing. Okay. And what's your favorite? My wife's partial to Trulies. I don't know anything about it. Is there a specific flavor I should get?
I'm not like in the game. I'm not like in the seltzer game, but I will drink them like at parties and around, for a leisurely, Monday afternoon podcast. Okay. I might have cracked one open had I.
All right. Okay. Yeah. It's a little like less weird than having an IPA at 3:00 on a Monday. Today is Monday, May 4th. May the 4th be with you. We are talking to people who are in the DFS industry and they're trying to get better. We're in a forced off season. You, my friend, have had some success. So I wanted to ask you, you've had multiple mega profit wins. Tell us, though, before we get into those, the War Room, this is what we need to know about. What is the War Room?
Yeah. The War Room is awesome. We built it. It took us a couple of years. We didn't want to just be like all the other DFS sites just doing live streams and chat rooms and stuff. And I realized that I don't use those services because I don't want to sit around in a live stream. I don't want to sit around in a chat room all day. Like I just want the information I need quickly. So that's what we built the War Room for, so that you can kind of come in and get all the info you need in like 5 to 10 minutes to build your lineup. And if you want to ask questions, you want to chat with us, you can. Like at the bottom of it, you can submit your own questions and read other people's questions, but it's kind of filtered top down so that like the most important stuff is at the top. And you just keep scrolling until you're like, all right, that's enough. Like everything below this doesn't seem, if that last comment wasn't helpful, anything below it probably won't be. It's kind of helpful to just be able to filter through what's needed. And once you open a War Room in our app, it automatically turns on push notifications. So if we make a new important post, you'll be notified. So I like doing that because if I'm playing like a baseball slate or something and I set a lineup an hour before lock, or if there's a late scratch, I don't want to have Fantasy Labs MLB notifications on and get 30 or 40 a night just to get the one piece of information I need. So the War Room will just give you a push notification for like true breaking news, not just another team releasing a lineup. So I think it's a pretty great platform for people who don't have a ton of time. If you're going to like max enter 150 lineups and you're looking for some kind of like cruncher, or a kind of an IQ system for an algorithm to build a ton of lineups, it's not really for that. You could kind of use our player pool and put it into another algorithm, but we've steered away from the algorithm. We kind of let other companies in the industry who are doing a great job with that, let them provide that service to players. And we'll just try to be the best possible service for people who don't want to spend a lot of time on it.
Okay, cool. So dailyfantasyinsider.com, that's the website. You are fresh out of the University of North Carolina. Before we go more into depth on your website, let's talk about you and your background. Are you from the North Carolina area? Are you
I'm from Thousand Oaks, California.
Okay.
and Southern California, and went to UNC. Always wanted to go there growing up. Was a big UNC basketball fan, so that was my school of choice.
And your team, they won the national championship while you were in school?
Well, so the funniest thing, so my dad went to UNC. He always wanted me to go there. And I was considering, I was kind of between UNC, Villanova, and Duke. And UNC gave me like a full scholarship. So then I was like, all right, I'm going to go there. And because the other schools were like, they're private schools. They're like, no, pay us a fortune to go here. So I went to UNC. Well, my first year there, Duke wins the national championship. And then my second year there, Villanova beats UNC. And so I'm like, I missed, like after that, I'm like, I missed my opportunity to have a national championship at either school I went to. And then the third year, UNC wins. So no matter where I went, I would have gotten to celebrate a national championship, which was pretty awesome.
Well, so then are you a basketball fan, truly?
Yeah. I like college basketball. I mostly just follow the ACC. I can't say that I am like diehard in all the other conferences, but I love March Madness. I'm sad that we missed it, but at least it's gone on the year that UNC wasn't going to make it. So,
okay.
Which it's rarely happens that UNC misses it. So the fact that we missed this year and they canceled it worked out nicely.
So then I'm a little older than you are. So I grew up and I was 13 in the 1998 Jordan season that's going on in this 30 for 30. So Are you a Jordan fan? Are you more a Kobe? Were you a LeBron? Or
I kind of grew up more a Kobe fan. I mean, Kobe's got in LA, so it's hard not to be a Kobe fan. But I like all the great ones. I don't feel like you have to choose between them. Like I really like LeBron. I like Kobe. I like Jordan. I like Steph. Even though some of these guys, they can be cocky, they can make a few decisions that maybe you don't love, but overall, I mean, there's not a lot of knocks on all of them. Like they're all they seem like decent enough guys, and they're awesome to watch. So I don't know why everyone's always trying to pick favorites. I like all of them. It's hard to compare. Honestly, LeBron's obviously the best player to ever play, in my opinion, because it's just whoever is, whoever's the most recent, the best player of the most recent decade is by default the best player ever. I mean, what do we think that humans are evolving backwards? Like that our training is going backwards. We're all getting worse at taking care of ourselves and practicing. Like that just doesn't make any sense. So I think always the best player at their sport at the time, like Mike Trout's probably the best MLB player ever. If you really like compared him, in every way to like a Babe Ruth, he'd crush him. I mean, it's probably no contest, right?
Yeah.
We're here to talk
that's a whole podcast about that stuff.
I know. I don't want to get too into that,
but that's cool. So you're a basketball fan, and then did you recently get married, buy a house? Because you graduated college, and that's what you do, dude. You get married, you buy a house, you have kids, and then all of a sudden you're 10 years into it, and you're like me, and you're just tearing your hair out, and you don't have any fun anymore.
You're in the garage drinking beer on a Monday.
Yeah, like hiding. But no, so I saw, though, on Twitter that you bought a plot of land a little bit ago, and then you're in Texas, so that's cool. So tell us a little bit about where you are quarantined.
We moved to Austin last summer and found a new construction neighborhood that we really like. So it's being built right now. We get emails every week about things we don't understand, and we're just like, awesome.
Realtor. So if you ever have any questions or you think that they're screwing you over,
nice.
DM me. I can actually.
Our realtor gets copied on him and has approved so far. But if I stop trusting him, I'll ask you. Nice. Right. But yeah, so I'm engaged. We're getting married in October.
Congrats.
Closing on our house in September. So yeah, a lot of big things coming, a lot of expensive things coming, but
expensive, but that's okay because dude, you're making some serious cheddar on the DFS industry, and you've also started this website. Okay, DFI Takeover. That's the Twitter account for this website, dailyfantasyinsider.com. Tell us more about that. How did this start? Why did you want to do this? Is this like your goal in life? And then you graduated with a degree from North Carolina in business management, and then you're just like, we're going for it. We're doing it.
Yeah. I actually didn't know that I wanted this to be a serious thing even when I started it. I was a sophomore at UNC playing DFS for fun. Never really had the idea of like helping other people other than just, sending my friends lineups. Back then you just sent people lineups. Right. Like, now you send your wife a lineup and she enters it for you. But yeah, no, I only play one lineup, so that stuff has never impacted me. But so back then I was just playing for fun, but I was reading a book called How Google Works, and I thought it would teach me about how search engine optimization worked, but it actually just taught me about how to run a successful company and like how to build a company. And great book, highly recommend reading it. A lot of my management style is what I took from that book. But I wanted to learn SEO. So I asked a family friend who does SEO, and he said, just start a blog and I'll teach you how the SEO works. So I was like, well, the only thing I'm knowledgeable about in the whole world is fantasy sports. So that's my one option. So I started a blog about it, and it just started growing quickly, and it was dailyfantasyinsider.com. I asked my friends in college if they wanted to write some articles for free, and it worked because I started with the concept of the must-haves, which was the 2 free picks we give out, which we think are the 2 best players on the slate. And my big complaint at the time was that every site out there was writing these articles that advised like 20 different players. And I was like, this is so unhelpful because I only have 9 roster spots and I want to make some choices for myself. So I'm really just looking for like, who are the guys I absolutely can't miss, can't afford to not have. Like today, I don't know if you played the Outlaw Tour, but there was one guy, it was Carson Roberts. He was 7,000 and his Vegas odds were the same as everyone who was over 9,000. Right. So he was the guy. He was 89% owned in high stakes and like 30% in low stakes. And he was the guy that's like, if you miss him, then, you know, you're just at a huge disadvantage. And he didn't go nuts. He shot like 3 under, but he was just such a better play than everyone else. And so that was the concept I started it with, and it just really took off. And we started a premium chat, which got too full too quickly. And then we had to develop better. Well, because the problem with the chat is someone comes in and says, like, what do you think of this guy? And then it goes away. And then 2 minutes later, someone comes in and says, hey, what do you think of the same guy? And then everyone else goes, someone just asked that. And then that fills up the chat. And so it just ruins the whole experience. So that's why we made the war rooms.
I see. Okay. Cool. So then this has been going on for a few years now, I guess, 5 years or so?
Yeah. We're heading into our 5th year. And it's grown a ton. We launched our app this past summer, and that was really a game changer for us. We like doubled our users over a few months. The app just helps us retain people a lot better. I mean, I've used Roto Grinders more than any other competitor site to us because they have an app that functions, which is a win in this industry.
Okay, so how many employees do you have? Do you have like an employee? Are you a real business, or are you just doing it on your own still, kind of making?
No. I actually don't even write a lot of the content because we cover every sport. We have 39 employees. So, so we cover every single sport. We're even covering like Korean baseball. And, our thought on like covering some of this stuff is like, okay, well, no one was following Korean baseball in depth. We have access to the data. We can plug it into models. We can adjust it for the difference in scoring. And, it's the hardest part actually with modeling this is that there's like 10 players with the same name. Like there would be like 10 K Lees and like, it's just, and 10 Y Sue. And so it's just impossible to like put this into a model. It makes it
which
really
one is the good one?
Right. Yeah. I guarantee tomorrow tonight's the first slate. There's going to be so many people who are rostering a guy who's like 3% owned and they're like, oh, sweet, low ownership. And he's not going to be playing.
Whoops. Well, okay, whatever. That happens. That's gambling. That's kind of what it is. It's
exactly.
Gambling.
Someone didn't show up to the Outlaw Tour this morning. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did see that.
He just slept through his,
no, I'm not in it. I'm not even in this tournament. It's like, what?
Yeah.
There goes all my money if I have. But then where did it start? Because for me, I started doing it with my friends in middle school, posted stuff on lockers, and you do that whole thing because your dads do it or whatever. Where did you start in this whole fantasy world?
It's funny. My dad wasn't really into fantasy. He liked sports, but never played fantasy. I just got into it at school with friends, and I would just, I've always had a very like strategic thought process about everything. I was always crushed my family in board games and stuff. So I got into fantasy and did pretty well with it, especially the ones like daily waivers, baseball and basketball. I pretty much won every time because there's always just like they're all pretty much solved games. Like for baseball, if it's cumulative stats, you just want to pick up the pitchers that have 2 starts that week instead of 1. And so like my middle school friends weren't thinking of that, idiots. No. So I just crushed them every year.
Yeah, this is like, you want to play me in NBA, fantasy NBA on ESPN? It's like, dude, if there's no max transactions.
Right, exactly. You got to set up a lot of rules or I'm ruining the league.
Yeah, exactly. So I've done that before.
So anyway, built from there. And then baseball was the sport that I had my first big GPP wins. I hit a 100K prize in MLB my early sophomore year at UNC. And then I qualified for the Playboy Mansion live final, and I won that.
Sweet. What,
So,
you won it?
Yeah, I won. It was my first like DFS event. We flew out to the Playboy Mansion and partied all weekend, and then we won. Yeah, it was insane.
Oh my God.
And we were like,
what?
I mean, I think it's
Were
probably
you even 21?
I was gonna say, I don't know what the statute of limitations is on FanDuel getting sued, but I was like 19.
Nice, dude. That's amazing. So then you win it. What does it do to your life then? At that point, you're like, we're going for this DFI thing. I'm gonna funnel money into it, and we're gonna fuel the flames.
We definitely thought like, all right, let's go for it. We didn't even really know where to spend money. We probably wasted a lot, like, because we were like, oh, we should go to like the World Series so that we're like seen at the World Series. And it was kind of like a weak justification.
Totally.
But we had a blast. So we went to like the NBA Finals, World Series, like just flew all over the country, like skipped like sophomore year. We probably went to like half of our classes and just like went to like every sporting event we could. And I'd never really had much money, like so it was a new experience for me, and I'm kind of glad to like get that out of my system so that now I can be like a reasonable, responsible adult.
You like realize it, I don't need to do this.
Yeah, well, it's like,
I can sit in the concert, but I can sit in the back and not in the front row.
Exactly, yeah. The breaking point was that me and my best friend Christian, who was my co-founder, we'd been traveling so much that we fell asleep at Monday Night Football. Like we were at the game, and he fell asleep, and I was like, "Dude, like we need to." Like it wasn't a good game, but like still, like you're a live sporting event, falling asleep. So that's when we kind of like scaled it back, and we did meet Steve Smith at that, like before that game at an In-N-Out Burger, and he and his family were very nice.
Funny. Okay, so the Playboy Mansion win for $100,000. That's probably your most successful story, but then again, I'm looking at your banner on Twitter, and you got a couple more $100,000 wins. What's the best success story, or the biggest sweat, or that one thing that you're like, dude, you wouldn't believe this guy threw a touchdown pass last second, but he got tackled on the 1 yard line?
Yeah. Honestly, the best sweat was the Playboy Mansion because we had to get a Mark Trumbo home run on his last at bat, and we got it. So you can't top that. Like he ended up getting another at bat, but at the time it seemed like that could be his last one.
Sure. And you're like, okay, he has to hit a dinger, and then you're sitting there watching, and then he fucking hits the home run.
So this is
what are you doing then? Are you just ripping your clothes? Ah!
So someone before I went, a sunglasses company had reached out to me and they're like, we'd like to sponsor you for this event so that you'll be wearing our sunglasses if you win, and they take pictures of you. And I'm like, all right, sure. So they sent me sunglasses. Well, on accident, right when he hit the home run, I took them off, and I was like, no way. And then it went over the fence, and I just chucked them. So I just completely wasted their idea. But it was nuts. And I had gone to the bar to get shots in case he hit a home run. So I was walking back with them and like just like dropped them. I don't even I couldn't believe it. Yeah.
So then at that point, do you lock it up at that point then? Because the other guy's out?
There was no innings remaining anywhere within like 30 of me. Someone actually got closer than I thought. Someone was down by like 35, and they did get a home run that brought them within another home run, but the guy didn't get up again. But that would have been the worst beat.
Oh, God, right. Okay, so that's pretty cool. You've had a couple huge wins, and I mean, you're pretty good at, I don't know, both websites. But do you have a feeling that DraftKings is easier than FanDuel? Has it changed? Does it switch each sport?
I used to play FanDuel more, probably 3 or 4 years ago. I think DraftKings has done such a better job with their VIP experiences and their customer service that as a businessman, like as myself, like I try to reward companies that I think are doing the best job with stuff like that. So I like their gamification. I like their VIP team. So I've kind of switched my play mostly to DraftKings. I found that when I was trying to play both sites on every slate, I would kind of miss things, or a guy would be really cheap on one site, and then I'd want to play him on the other site just so I was maxed on my exposure to him. And so anyway, I try to usually play one unless I have a big edge on a slate, and then I'll just join everything on both.
Cool. So then what's your weekly process like? And did it change once you won a bunch of money? Did you start playing for higher stakes at that point?
Yeah, I did up my stakes once I won like my first 100K prize. I found now I've kind of shifted my play where I do less low stakes and just go into like the highest one, particularly for sports like NBA and golf, where you can predict ownership so easily. Like the chalk is so obvious in those sports. And I've found that like you can get a long run positive expected value by fading some like 50, 60% owned guys, especially when, if there's a pretty equal like if there's a comparable play that you can use as a pivot, it's not so much about you think the chalk will bust. You just think someone else could be equal. So there's no reason to play the chalk. So that's kind of my process. Like if I have chalk in my lineup, I think, is there another guy that I project about the same? And if so, why don't I just switch to him? So that's kind of how I try to build. And then I'll join higher. If I'm playing low owned guys, I'll join higher stakes because I want the chalk to be even chalkier so that I'm either going to lose because of them or I'll do really well. So I want it to be as amplified as possible.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty much what everyone said so far. And what I kind of do too, you just kind of like avoid some chalk, but at the same time, are you eating chalk even if everybody's on it because it's a $4,600 running back that's going to get 30 carries? I mean, is there a point where you just eat the golf chalk or what?
Yeah. Well, so I don't decide the must-haves for DFI. We have golf analysts that are really good. They finished first last year among like 30 companies that were ranked with their public picks. And I think they were third the year before that. So I try not to meddle too much with the picks. So I'll chime in with like some game theory thoughts, try to steer them away from chalk if possible. But if they say that you have to play chalk, then I do. Like I'm not just always anti-chalk. It's just if I am choosing between two pretty equal candidates. But if they're saying if Paul Casey's a lock at 7,200 in the Masters and he's like 50% owned, if he's a must-have, I'm going to play him regardless because I don't want to just be an idiot.
Right. No, you could level yourself. I mean, Adam Levitan said that all year. What about you mentioned you only play one lineup. So then therefore, are you using that different in cash that you are in GPP? Are you even playing cash games? What's your selection?
I try to play cash, like side bets with other people that are also playing it. I don't mind paying the rake for the GPPs because I think DraftKings is providing a true service by setting up that structure that allows everyone to pay in and have the winners take a lot more. Mm-hmm. But if I'm just going to play head to head against somebody I know in the industry, like why would I pay rake? It just doesn't make sense. So I don't usually play a whole lot of cash games. I'm more of a GBP guy because I like trying to pivot to low ownership, and there's no reason to do that in cash. So I usually just go all GBPs, especially in golf.
And then you're only using one lineup through all the GPPs?
Yeah, I pretty much make one lineup and just put it in every contest.
And that goes for all the sports regardless?
Yeah, pretty much.
So you don't have a lot of that FOMO where you're like, crap. I do this all the time because I pick 21 guys and then my 22nd, third, and fourth guy are the always ones that do well.
Yeah, well, the only FOMO I have is like when you have just one lineup, you have to make some tough decisions at the end. So,
true. So it's the same thing.
Like I swapped off the guy this morning that had an albatross like hold out from like 250 yards, and I was like, but like so like that kind of can be frustrating, but it happens to every DFS player. It's no matter what. If you have 150 lineups, or I feel like with 150, you think, oh my gosh, I have all the best players in my player pool, and then there's no lineup that has them, and so that's just as tilting.
Oh God, yeah. Again, it goes back. Circle back. It is gambling and it's for fun. So do whatever you want. Do what's for fun for you. And if it's building 150 lineups with all the players, great. Go for it.
Yeah. I've always just found it so much more fun having one lineup. I feel like it's fun to be just all in rooting for stuff. And
dude, you're dying on a hill. I love it. It's the way you go. You're going to either win or lose, and that's the way it is. And you've definitely done well. So clearly the strategy's working for you. So it's whatever. Don't try to overthink yourself. But is there one piece of advice for a new person? Maybe someone's just brand new to the DFS or they're thinking about getting into it. Is there something that you would just, besides obviously joining your website and going into the war room, what would you do? What would you say to them as like a rule of thumb for PGA?
Yeah, a good rule of thumb for PGA and for any sport, if you're new enough to DFS that you're eligible to play in contests that are under $3, which is a lot of people. It's probably most people, but all the sharks are not allowed to play in contests that are $3 or less. Like I don't see $3 contests in my lobby. I don't see the quarter arcade. I don't see the $1. No, like I forget that they exist. But those are the contests that you want to be focusing on. If you want to get $100 in action on a slate, maybe join like the big $10 GP so that you have the full upside if you hit the nuts and win 100K. But other than that, I would just join tons of $1, $2, $3 contests, like head-to-heads, double-ups, all the small GBPs, like the 100-man $1. If you could get all your action in on at that entry level, you'll just have way more success, especially if you're using picks. Like if you're using the War Room, you're getting like kind of professional level picks, but you get to use them at the amateur level. So that's the best strategy that works for every sport. And people that are struggling and like they're joining like a $33 GBP for all their GBP exposure. And when they switch to doing a bunch of $1 and $2, they have way more success.
Dude, it's way more fun. And granted, you can't win $1 million and like buy an island or whatever, and you're not going to go to the Playboy Mansion if you win one of these things. But at the same time, you're going to win $1,000 or maybe $500.
And if you have success, if you have enough success at that level that you're building up, then maybe you start scaling up. But if you're not even building your bankroll much at that level, then you really shouldn't be playing in the even higher levels. So, yeah.
Well, so okay, that's kind of enough about fantasy and DFS and your business and whatever. Let's kind of talk about some fun stuff. I was going to ask you, kids these days, since I look young, I'm 35. Old. Yeah, no, like I'm so old, man. But do you have a TikTok? Are you into TikTok?
No, I have not. I've downloaded it because like I thought I don't want to be a boomer who doesn't even download it, but I haven't even used it. I just, the thing is, my thought on it is that all the best content makes it to the platforms I use anyway. So like Twitter and Instagram is like half TikTok, and that's fine with me. Like I'm not like, oh, another TikTok. Like I don't care. I'm happy.
No, it doesn't even matter, right?
I just don't want to learn a new app because also Twitter is fun for me. I have a lot of followers. Like people, like not to like flex, but it's like if I go on TikTok, I have 0 followers. If I reshare something, 0 people care. So it just makes it less. Social media is supposed to be social, and I would have no followers on TikTok, nor do I care to get any because I'm not going to post anything.
Right. Are you doing anything right now? There's League of Legends. There's this NASCAR stuff that's simulated.
I'm done. I'm so pissed about the NASCAR stuff because they keep saying certain players are going to start in certain spots and then they don't, or DraftKings doesn't count it. So the qualifying for NASCAR has it like they qualify in the last like 3 minutes before lock, and so then you have like 2 minutes to adjust your lineup, and it's getting frustrating. We're ready for NASCAR to come back. There's a huge MMA slate on Saturday night.
Yeah,
we've been working on that War Room already because there's nothing else to do for MMA. So our guys have already been getting ready for that. There's like $100 million prize pool for MMA, which is nuts because it's like the only real sport we've had in like a year. So feels like it. Yeah. But anyway, I've had the most success with League of Legends and the Outlaw Tour golf. We've done well with Outlaw Tour. It's fun.
Dude, it's incredible. I can barely. I look at your Twitter page and it's just like every other tweet is like someone just cashing money.
Yeah, I mean, I try to like celebrate people with their solid wins. I don't retweet like double up wins. People are like, "Why didn't you retweet my post?" I'm like, can't it's already annoying enough probably for like poor Chad already has to see like a bunch of
I'm like, crap, I should join this website. If I wanted to, Justin, how do I do that? Where do I go and how much is it?
You can actually sign up for free. I'll give you a free month. Everyone who's watching, you just use the code, use Justin Friend as your code, and it'll make any monthly membership, the first month will be free. If you don't want to pay, cancel after 30 days. I feel the need
but if we want to pay, I want to give you the money. I don't even want it for free. How much?
Well, then don't even use the code.
Yeah, how much can I pay you?
For one sport, it's $25 if you don't want the ability to comment. You just want to see all the content. And then it's $35 for interactive access, which lets you comment as much as you want. Most people go with read only and that's what I would do, which is why I created that option. Like, I would just want to read all the content, be in and out in 10 minutes. I wouldn't want to be chatting it up.
And that's smart for you because then that makes those people, they cannot comment even if they would want to, so that they're not adding to
they have the option to upgrade if they want to be commenting. But we just realized we shouldn't be charging the same. It's probably a year and a half ago we added these 2 tiers because we realized we shouldn't be charging the same for the guy who asks 100 questions to the guy who doesn't say anything. So Yeah. So if you want every single sport, which right now you might not want that because there's not that many sports, but that's like $60 a month. But you can get like weekly and even daily passes. So you can get like a 24-hour pass for like $5. And people will stack it up on purpose so that they join late for one slate so that the war room will start the next day so they can like use the 24-hour window to get 2 slates. But I'm not going to fix that or patch that hole because like
you do not seem like that type of person, honestly.
No, so. That's me. Like I would do that. So I'm not going to patch a hole that I would be using.
Right. No, I love that. That's brilliant. Okay. Everything about it seems like you're a user of the DraftKings world, and you've created a site that's for users like yourself. And guess what? It's working. And you're cashing mega profits and you're doing great. So continue dominating. And we appreciate you coming on, taking the time to talk to us, little guy over here at the Fantasy Golf Pod. And then we've talked about this before. We were going to do this. I mean, for majors, we're going to have you back on. We're going to have you chatting with us and give us some advice. Give us some of those locks that you guys have over there at the site.
Fantasy I'd love golf. To be talking majors.
Dude, we love it. So
thanks for having me. This is fun.
Yeah, and enjoy. And if you, again, having problems with that builder or your realtor saying things to you, you just hit me up.
I will. Thanks, Chad.
Thanks, dude. Cheers.